Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh, everybody. This is your host, Preacher Moss, host of the ShOUT Show. We're going an hour later today. Let me apologize in advance. I meant to put this on yesterday's blast to let everybody know that we would be going at 7 o'clock Eastern time as opposed to 6 o'clock. And, of course, the Central and Pacific equivalents, if you will. We had a very special thing happen. We actually got to screen my comedy special, which was a live comedy concert film called Love Supreme: An Anatomy of Gratitude. And what was really interesting watching that film was just the relevance that it's having right now. There's a lot going on in the world, of course. And if you looked at the title, which I might even have to redo tomorrow just so people get to engage in it, because it's a very robust idea. But it's the idea of potentially the idea of Black suffering becoming pop culture now. We are seeing the monetization of Black misery and Black struggle happen right before our eyes. When I say right before our eyes, I mean all kudos to the family. They did a GoFundMe page. They initially asked for $1.5 million. That thing's probably over $14 million right now. And should be, because the world responded in a way that is more than appropriate. But I am talking about the rush now to pay attention to Black life, Black struggle, Black existence in many regards, because it seems like what everyone else is doing. And there's a thing that I talked about yesterday. If you weren't on yesterday, there's a danger to that. There's a danger to that, because the addictiveness is that now I can approach you because I'm in a scenario where I feel safe. Not only safe being around you, but safe being seen around you. And that's something that's artificial. I see a lot of charities, and I will call you out. A lot of charities that normally have nothing to do with Black causes, haven't had nothing to do with Black causes. I can be a person that can be totally honest. I've introduced ideas and pitches and proposals, and they want none of that. I'm trying to help my people. Don't want none of that. I'm trying to help the community. None of that. I want to help children. None of that. And we haven't gotten that for whatever reason. We haven't gotten it. But this situation with George Floyd, this was a catalyst for people to say, okay, some groups go enough's enough. And then another group goes, well, here's another opportunity. You're not doing yourself a favor by, in some regards, pimping Black misery. You're not. You think you know these people. You don't know these people. When you come to these people who are suffering, you're not saving them. You cannot save them, not with your money, not with your assistance. You have to come, and the only way you can lift the situation is that you come with a pure heart. I am clear now that there are charities who are targeting not the Floyd family, but the idea that Black suffering can get you more fundraising. It can fill your coffers, brothers and sisters. You know, if think about this. You know, think about this. I remember a well-known radio personality years ago in the Washington, D.C. area. His name was Howard Stern. He was on 101 D.C. Rock. And I remember what he said. Now, I'm not bringing it up. I'm just talking about the concept of it. What the man said. There was a push to get a holiday for Martin Luther King. This is sometime after I graduated. So I'm thinking maybe 89, 88. But there was a push, brothers and sisters, to get a holiday for Martin Luther King. They got the holiday. And his joke was, hey, if you can get a holiday for killing her, why don't we get a whole week or something to that effect? And it was disturbing. And of course, there was a lot of uproar. But here's my point. It was an uproar to a point. Because why? He's the number one guy on satellite radio, and people forget. He apologized. Let me say that. He apologized. But we have a scenario now, and I'm going to talk to those in the Black community. We're very excited that people are now recognizing today that we've been suffering since we got to this country. So yes, we're giving people credence to be in our space after 400 some years of suffering, 400 some years of no apologies, 400 some years of single-mindedness, 400 some years of oppression, but we're not doing it the correct way because we don't have a strategy. We're just happy that you showed up. We're happy that we showed up or that people are paying attention to us. But they're paying attention to us. And I guarantee this is something that's going to happen. I guarantee this is something going to happen. The people that we really need to be talking to and speaking power to and expressing ourselves, they're not around us. They're not around us. The people who are apologizing, they would apologize anyway. The people who are doing the actions, if you will, the people that make the laws, if you will, the people who enforce these type of systematic mechanism and protocols, if you will, they're not in our space. We are preaching to the converted, and for the people that come over and go, I'm with, and I told you folks, it's disgusting. I'm sorry, it's demeaning. I'm with my Black brothers and sisters. What the hell does that mean? I'm with my Black brothers and sisters. I'm going to stand. No, don't stand with me if you don't understand me. And I mean that in the best of ways. Don't put yourself in a situation whereby you're going to hurt the both of us. Okay? I understand it's popular right now. I can tell you something I saw on television. It's supposed to be a riot in Denver. Oh, not a riot, excuse me. A peaceful protest in Denver. You know what I saw people doing? The electric slide. It's a dance. Have you ever been to a Black wedding before? You've heard the electric slide at a protest for a man that was choked out in broad daylight. And who was teaching them the electric slide, brothers and sisters? It was a Black man. Now, I'm not saying the electric slide doesn't have its place and time, but if you're at a serious protest, we're there for change, not we run the danger of not knowing just what we want, but when we get it, we don't know what to do with it. I see a plethora of people and interest right now in Black suffering. I call it Black suffering, Black pain. I call it Black suffering and Black pain. And I'm going to say something to a lot of these advocates out here, Black folk too. Be honest. This suffering that we're going through, it's nothing like our parents went through, our grandparents went through, our great-grandparents went through. We need to be honest. Some of that is we just mad people have not recognized this when and where we want it to be recognized. So they didn't fund your projects. They gave you got a little different look from somebody when you went somewhere. And I'm not going to let my immigrant brothers and sisters off the hook. Some of y'all could be horrible. My favorite story I tell was when I was first trying to do Allah Made Me Funny, and I was with Ushersman at one of his gigs. I wanted to find out what made these people laugh, the culture. These are my brothers, my mother, my brothers and sisters, my Muslim brothers and sisters. We're trying to connect. And I was stood over in the corner, and I was waiting to go up. I wasn't announced. To be honest, I wasn't announced. But he was the comedian, the Muslim comedian. It was in New Jersey. I'll never forget it. I think Edison, New Jersey. And a woman called me over, and I'm like, this is an elder. What would you like, ma'am? And I thought she was going to say something. I didn't get an assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam. I didn't get anything. This lady lifted her cup like this, and I was, what she wanted more tea. She thought I was the waiter. Keep in mind, the waiters are wearing waiter stuff. I'm not dressed like a waiter, brothers and sisters. And it's only from the mercy of my teachers that I did not lose control. They said, listen, you learn to serve your elders. I said, fine. I went and got her tea, poured it in, 15 minutes up. 15 minutes later, I went up on stage. She's looking at me. I'm looking at her. She has the tea. She's looking at me like, oh, if I can get that Negro off stage, I'd get me some more tea. It didn't happen. My point at this particular time, and I would encourage everybody to go to the Global Muslim Film Festival. Look it up. Global Muslim Film Festival. My project that I did, Love Supreme, Anatomy of Gratitude, was a landmark film because it shows you something that we're not seeing right now. In the danger of everything that we're seeing right now, the mourning. I mean, I don't know the family of George Floyd. Allah knows best. 4 memorial services. 4 memorial services. I mean, they're going to replicate and take that body to 4 memorial services. And he goes to Houston to have 2. I don't understand the strategy. I mean, I know when Emmett Till got killed, they had 1 viewing. And I wasn't there. But I'm saying, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we feeding into? And I would encourage everybody on the podcast here, on the show, to start thinking, what are you building? What are you feeding into? I know as a teacher, if you show a child defeat over and over and over and over, even if it's not their defeat, they begin to feel like they're defeated. Or they begin to feel like, what's the value of trying? What's the value of effort? They will, in some regards, rearrange themselves and lend themselves to amotivational behavior to the point that they're so afraid of failure, they're not even going to try. I am worried because this almost fetishizing of Black pain and Black trauma. We have several programs on today that are just, and I love them, but I look at them. Black people got to heal. I'm like, if George Floyd didn't happen, would we be having all of this? Because there was outrage. I know I went off when Ahmaud Arbery was killed. And I went off for several reasons. I categorically listed them. And I talked about racism, but I talked about it in a way by the system is whereby it's set up where people of color always have to ask for permission. Even when you go in a courtroom, judge says something to you, what do you say? Yes, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. Your Honor is a submission verbiage that you have to use in the courtroom. I don't know that, man. I've accorded him all kind of respect, but because of the condition of the law, we now have to act a certain way. And this whole idea, brothers and sisters, it can't be overlooked. It cannot be overlooked. There's something afoot. There's something afoot. I actually will go back to something I talked to several shows about the disenfranchisement playbook. I believe that this wade in the water mentality of woe is me and things like that is meant, in some regards, to make sure that we don't understand gratitude. We don't understand a will to victory. It's from these times, brothers and sisters, and these times are difficult, but there's been massively more difficult times. I wasn't there during the time my grandfather, my grandmother, or my mother, when they grew up. They grew up in Jim Crow segregation, laws, drink your water from here. You can only eat your food here. Can't go to school over there. They lived in the most strictest, if you will, environments. Out of that. They found a way. Only by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they found a way to not only do that, but to create beautiful miracles. They created the society that we're in right now, that we're sitting around going, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it. There's a thing about trauma, and there's a thing about pain. And there's a fine line. Trauma, pain, and the fine line is you have to make sure it's not self-pity. You have to make sure, you know what, I got these people here. I'm just going to tell them about everything that's wrong with my life, but I'm not going to tell you about the times I won. And that's the difference. You say when you bring people in, you got to tell them, hey, these are the problems, but you have to be clear, crystal clear, if you will, about your victories. And we're not talking about victories anymore. I saw Reverend Sharpton on and yesterday, and I said this yesterday. I said he looked tired. He gave a good sermon, but he looked tired. I realized why he looked tired, because they've been doing this for years. They've had highs, lows, victories, losses. They've been doing it for years. That man's 65, but he looked 85 because they're tired. And they're also tired because we're not doing the work. You know, one of the reasons I'm saying what I'm saying is because I'm not even just saying it to you. I've got to work on my own self. I got to make my own challenges. And I'm going to encourage everybody, I'm going to ask everybody that you make your own challenges too. There's no need for someone to come that you don't know, who's only reacting to you from somebody else's situation. They're trying to get their mind right. They're trying to get their soul right. But they're trying to get the situation right. There's a charity, I won't even mention their name. There's a charity sponsoring an event tonight that had nothing to do. Hear me? Nothing to do with black people. Zero, zilch. Unless I can make some money off of it. And they become an organization that was clearly about support overseas. You know what they're doing? We're doing box lunches for kids in Minneapolis. Kids out of school. Maybe they're gonna give them the lunches in August. I don't know. My point is, let's look at the situation. There's a clear scenario here. If you look at the presidential framework that's being out there now, we are talking about a lot of things. We're talking about pain. We're talking about trauma. But let me tell you something that's interesting about pain and trauma. Pain and trauma take time. Pain and trauma occupy space. They take up time. Just this week, if you think about from the time Mr. Floyd was murdered to just today, how quickly has the time gone? How much time did you spend watching TV looking at the process of the police officers getting arraigned to being recharged, and like we rah-rahed that stuff because we alleviated it? I'm going to tell you a story. Maybe you'll understand it, maybe you won't understand it. And, you know, it's something that has to do with the black community, so bear with me. There was a time, and this goes out to Mr. Hassan Minhaj. I'll deal with you maybe tomorrow, brother. Because my brother went on and he showed out about, you know, black da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, dude, you don't even rock with us like that. I love you, but it felt like, in my mind, it was a little bit for show. And I tell folks, don't tell me Black Lives Matter if you don't love black people. If you like black financial viability, then just say that. If you like black, I can hang out, then just say that. But when you leave, we still black. And now let me go to this piece, because I'm not going to hold you guys too long. When I was in school, long time ago, let's say call it 1984. In 1984, we had an issue in America, and that issue was South Africa. There still was an active apartheid in South Africa. Okay? What was interesting was this. All of us black students, we would get together for our protests and our rallies. Now, keep in mind, there was no social media, none of that. We would go throughout the week, and we really wouldn't give out flyers because, you know, people might do something or whatever, and we'd have equipment. My brother Charlie Hall worked in the student union, and somehow we would get his keys and we get the PA equipment, and we have the rallies. That's neither here nor there. What was interesting was the amount of energy, effort, vigor, vile, all of these things wrapped into one against the country of South Africa, that they would treat black African people like that. Like that. Shame on you. Shame on you. And the weird part was we were living in America, and America was doing the same thing. It was just nuanced. And all we were doing, brothers and sisters, we were projecting our feelings on these people. We were, in essence, assuming a white supremacist framework to lecture these people, but in our own country, we're still dealing with white supremacy. We just didn't want to admit it. And black people, I love you, but we all deal with white supremacy and privilege too. White people are not the only ones that have privilege. We have privilege. It might not be the same privilege, but you have privilege. The fact that you can go to a rally and they tell you to go home peacefully, and you got cameras, that's a blessing. My mother, my aunt, fire dogs, or police dogs and fire hoses. That's what you got. I'm serious. Because nobody's thinking like that. Are we in a situation where we're going to sell ourselves as the race of pain and trauma? Are we going to, that's the new branding for us? I don't want someone to come up to me and say, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what did you do? Why would you? Oh, listen, whatever your feelings are for however you feel about race relations in America, that's your feeling. I have my own. But my point is, we can't get into a scenario over and over and over and over and over again where people come to us where they feel like we're in a level or position of disadvantage, that we are somehow less than our capabilities, less than our realities. Yes, we all grieve. Yes, we all have sadness. Yes, hell, we all have the blues. We come from the blues, brothers and sisters, but we also come from love. We come from triumph. We come from a situation and scenario when it's the darkest, it's the bleakest. For some reason, we seem to rise. And that is what I want people to come around. That's what I want you to identify with. Identify me as being a winner. If I go to one more of these things of, oh, black trauma, I'm so sad, I might lose it. I'm supposed to speak to some young kids. You know why? Because they feel that way. Now, children are different. Okay, their lives are not formed the way my life has been formed. So I want to apologize for even saying that. What I won't apologize for is the people bringing me. I hope you don't bring me here because I'm in pain, I'm in trauma. Real OGs learn how to deal with pain and trauma. And real OGs take the pain and trauma, we turn into success. We take our communities, we put them on our back, and we say, hey, like Bill Weathers, lean on me. Not lay on down, lean on me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Not the foolishness that we're seeing today. The theatrics. And I want to talk to some of my little organizations here. Listen, I don't want your theatrics. And don't come around me thinking you can pay me for my theatrics. You know, what's real is real. Okay? When I say what's real is real, it's like come to me as a man. Come to me as a woman. Come to me as somebody who's fully engaged and fully self-actualized about my position in the world. Okay? Yes, people feel bad about George Floyd, but what were they looking for in the first place? They were looking for justice. Don't come around me if you're not willing to put up for justice. If you're not willing to invest in my justice, meaning that it means you can be free too. Some people walking around thinking, hey, I could just hang out. You can't hang out. Pain and trauma has a price of admission. If you're not willing to pay that price of admission, which is I'm going to challenge myself to get out of the situation, then I don't need you around me. You're not helping the cause. You're hurting the cause. And for every one of my Muslim brothers and sisters, African American brothers and sisters, and my African brothers and sisters, and my Latino brothers and sisters that have traditionally been disenfranchised, deal with disappropriate health, poverty, all those things, lack of access. You deal with these things on a daily basis. Everybody that's going to come to you is not going to be your friend. And don't think that some of these relationships that we're getting into, some of these partnerships, there's not a back door. All these corporate people, Ben and Jerry's, car companies, Fiat, and all these people, all of a sudden you realize that the world is wrong, that the black man has been treated like the lowest individual in the world. All of a sudden you want to be my friend. You're suspect to me. And everyone who wants to make a cute video, you don't know about blackness. I like Hassan Minhaj. Good dude. I like him. But you pissed me off, Hassan. You got on a video or your show, Netflix, whatever name of the show is, and you got on a roll, and I know you make jokes, but sometimes, damn it, things ain't funny. When you talk about Indian and brown people, what they call black people, what is it? Kalu? Guess what? I know what they're talking about. And I make a note of it. And you can thank that old lady back in New Jersey. And I'm getting ready to go on a stage with her cup ringing in the air because she thought I was a waiter. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Everybody, have an excellent weekend. Thank you for tuning in. For the people that tuned in to the live stream of my live stream premiere of my comedy concert film, Love Supreme and Anatomy of Gratitude. I thank you. I wish you nothing but excellence. To my brothers and sisters, let's talk about Black excellence so that other people who aren't Black can talk about Black excellence, Black achievement, Black victories. Please, do it for the kids. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Have an excellent weekend. My name is Preacher Moss, and I'll see you tomorrow if it's meant to be. At our regular time, 5 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.